Welcome back to the A3A podcast. We're a bunch of amateurs here to talk to you about sports with a distinct amateur perspective. They're already laughing. Yeah, good job holding it in, guys. How we feeling, boys?
I'm good. Fun weekend, right, Justin?
Hell yeah, brother. Doing great.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot to talk about today. We got some PLL action with the championship game, some college football, and some NFL upsets. Big moments this weekend. How are we? You guys watched the PLL game? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, sure did. Justin, if you want to start, you can start.
Yeah, another championship for the Archers back to back. I think the biggest story from this is Brett Dobson, the goalie for Archers. I think he had like a 68 save percentage, which is insane, and 17 saves. Like I with those stats, like I think it's just further kind of indication maybe that I mean the talent gap is so small in PLO, like we've said, but it kind of just matters if your goalie gets hot sometimes too. Like we've seen like Blaze Reardon do it for Chaos. And obviously Brett Dobson do it back-to-back years. He was back-to-back championship game MVPs. But just Archers keep dominating. Whoops, put up a good fight too, but Archers come out on top.
Yeah, I think we kind of said that they were getting hot at the right time, the Whip Snakes, but clearly not enough. They're also decently young too, so I think they'll be back. Of course, it's Maryland, big time lacrosse state, and I don't think they'll ever be bad. I don't think they'll ever be like that bottom team that doesn't make that one team that doesn't make the playoffs.
Right.
But the Archers, I think, like we said last week, just the most consistent team throughout the year, really. And they have guys that just won't let them down. They'll work continuously and they'll get the job done. And I can't really speak a whole lot on the game because me and Justin were at the bar watching football as it was going on. I know Justin had it on his phone, but I was too busy watching the 8 football games that were on.
And the Giants losing miserably too, not to mention.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much a championship game. We can talk about
that. With that point, though, like the championship game is on a Sunday during football season, right?
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. So you're paying attention to football. I'm trying to get a little bit of PLL, and as the lacrosse season is winding down. But I think that just kind of poses a bigger question: like, should the PLL still have their championship game on a football weekend, right? So if I get it, like they plan their season the way that they do, so they can include the college guys too. Like once that college season ends, and they got a good niche of time where, no football going on. Basketball is winding down over the first few weeks of the PLO. So they're really just only competing with baseball, maybe a few other like Olympics, sporadic things like that. But once it gets to football season, I think their viewership probably drops a lot, right? So I feel like it's worth considering like changing the day of the game, because like Sunday at 3:00, that's at the end of a bunch of NFL games, and whatever else is going on too. So what are you thinking on that, Walt?
Yeah, I actually said for a while this was kind of a problem with the PLO and how the season kind of wrapped up, even with just the regular playoffs. Just competing with the start of not only the NFL but also college football, it's a losing battle if you ask me. You have people like me where I love lacrosse, absolutely love it. Obviously, I play it. We try to watch as much as we can, me and Erica. But if it comes down to football or lacrosse, it's going to be football 10 out of 10 times. And it doesn't matter who's really playing. You're trying to fight with the most popular sport in America and just not going to work. I do think they could probably switch it. I think the best bet would be like a Friday night type deal, because you're not going to be college football night games, especially if it's like top 10 opponents. There's no way. So Friday night, best bet. Nick, from a guy who isn't big into football or lacrosse quite yet, or the PLL,
Yeah.
if you were to turn on the TV, which one are you going to?
Football for sure, I have to say. And, it's pretty tough. I do like watching football when I get the chance, when it's on the screen. Oh, I enjoy it. But I feel like lacrosse suffers a little bit it's a popular sport in high school and in college, but in terms of being well known in the nation, it's not at the same stage as any of the big four major sports yet, or soccer. So I think trying to collide the schedule and overlap is not a winning strategy. And I was also thinking about this time of year is like the race for the playoffs and the MLB.
True.
So, I mean, you have all sorts of different schedules colliding here, and I think it would be a smart move for the PLL to find whatever time slot they could. I definitely don't have an answer as to when they should do it, but I think you got to switch it up a little bit to increase exposure and viewership.
Right.
I would
think that,
like.
go ahead, Walt.
I was just gonna say I would like the PLL's odds a little bit better with baseball over football or basketball, because the football and basketball fan base is just so big, so strong. I know baseball is big, but you are getting a lot of those guys, especially kids who are, they played baseball for how long and now they're switching to lacrosse. So it's kind of flip flopping. And I think it would be easier to flip flop a baseball fan than a football or basketball fan right now. And there's no big presence on Friday night, at least from my point of view, on baseball Friday nights. But like Justin said, Sunday 3 o'clock, that's a rough time. You got people out at bars. You got people just finishing quite a long slate of football. I doubt they're going to turn around and put on lacrosse next, because even if they did watch football for all that, chances are, especially if you have like a family or young kids, chances are you're watching those games, and then at 3 o'clock you're probably going out to do something with your family, because you're not just going to take the entire day to watch football. You might do that every other weekend, but not an every week basis. So
Yeah, and I think that like Fridays, the only thing that you would be like competing with, I guess, maybe not for viewership, but like Friday football games for high school, right? So that's more so just like more people are out, if anything, like more sports oriented people are out. And we kind of see this like with our like pickup lacrosse league over the summer. Like once it starts to get to football season, guys start dropping off because their football's back on. We're going to watch that, right? So we see it like in our peers, like just people we play with, that they choose football over lacrosse too, right? So
and that's playing versus watching.
Exactly, right. Yeah, and lacrosse is always regarded, or most of the time regarded, as the fastest growing sport in America. And I feel like this is just one thing that like limits their growth, just their exposure, right? Because people are more focused on the NFL and that season starting. And at least for myself, like I'm pretty locked into the PLL throughout the summer, right? Like I try to watch as many games as I can, because it's only 2 days out of the week that there are games, since they have 2 days each day, or 2 games each day. And then I this could also partially be because the Cannons are out of the playoffs relatively soon the past 2 years. But I kind of lose track of it, I guess, because football's starting. Right.
Yeah.
So and another thing too, college football, the national championship isn't that always on a Monday too?
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of other days that we could do, instead of just a Sunday during primetime football time, to get a championship game going. I mean, maybe they worry about attendance, like if it's not on like a weekend or something. I don't know, but still, I think you can maybe trust your fan base a little bit that people will come, if you're going to put it on.
People will show up, because there are people that just watch lacrosse. Like lacrosse is their number one sport, and that's what they do. Even when we go to the games in Fairfield, like I can tell you, a lot of those people are pure lacrosse fans. So they'll get people there. I don't think it'll be that big of a thing. It's not like they're trying to fill an NFL size stadium either all the time. So I guess they have that. If we want to talk about popularity of the sport and its growth, we can talk about the championship series, which is a version of lacrosse where it's 6v6, right, Justin?
7v7.
7v7, and there's no face-offs. It's just you score, you pick it up, and you go.
I think there's an initial face-off, and then like that's just at the start of each quarter, and then it just keeps going back and forth. Like,
and it just keeps going back and forth. Games end up like 30-29 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And that's Paul Rabel, the owner of the PLL. That's his way. That was his way of getting lacrosse back into the Olympics. And so he made that kind of fun, fast-paced, I guess shorter. Would you call the game shorter or quicker?
I would call it quicker, yeah, just because it's a shortened field and there's less space for guys, so it's just constantly back and forth, and it kind of showcases like the best of lacrosse. Like it's they regard it as the fastest game on 2 feet, right. So it just keeps the action going. It's not like like a football where like, okay, we got to play and we got 30 seconds off, whatever.
It's constant go.
It's just constant back and forth, which I think bodes well for it, like in Olympic format, because with so much like going on at the same time, like people are like watching a bunch of different stuff. If you could just tune into a lacrosse game and just like kind of watch a little bit of it and have a lot happen, it might get people more interested in it. So I think that the championship series is great for that further growth, and it also like kind of gets at least myself back into the lacrosse. Like I think it's always in February.
Right. Well, the more important thing though, it's going to get the exposure of the Olympics. For example, Nick, all on vacation this year in Ocean City, we watched the Olympics every day, and we were watching sports we never thought we'd watch, and we were into it too.
Yeah, I was super into it.
That could be a great way. Yeah, that would be a great way to get like exposure back. So I guess we'll have to see within the next 4 or 5 years when the Olympics comes back around. I'm interested to see the popularity boost if it gets any, because that's a different stage, right? Because you could talk about the PLL and professional lacrosse, but like people that are like, oh, this game's in the Olympics, that's definitely a different tone than saying, oh, it's just professional lacrosse league.
Yeah, and I don't think, or at least I hope it's not going to be something like breakdancing where people are like, what is this doing here? That Yeah, but I think what also helps too, at least for like attendance purposes, I guess, is the next Olympics is in LA. So, Americans, I'd say it's primarily like an American sport, but like Japan has a good team, Canada's a good team, I think England as well. I think that you'll get at least your biggest base of lacrosse.
Jamaica was a big surprise.
Jamaica too, right. But you'll get your biggest base of lacrosse fans or people who would attend in kind of like a home game, if you will, like in America. I know my partner and I, Cassie, we thought about maybe we'll head out to LA for the Olympics. I don't know if she wants to go for gymnastics and me for lacrosse. But you get people like me like considering like going to see it in person and helping to grow the product.
Yeah, for sure.
Having the next Summer Olympics in LA is such a huge opportunity for the sport of lacrosse in America.
Yeah,
that's going to be great.
It is. Yeah, I don't want to think about those people that live in LA with that traffic. That's going to be
as someone who's been there, it's not great. You only drive like what you would think would be like 20 minutes, like mileage wise, and it takes an hour and a half. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I feel like if people are backed up with people from all over the world, but hopefully they can handle it. We'll see.
Yeah. Are we ready to move on to college football?
Yes, sir.
All right, college football. Oh, we'll start with Georgia and Kentucky because that was way closer than it probably should have been. Justin?
Yeah. Thoughts? I mean, I only got to watch like kind of the second half of this game, maybe mostly the fourth quarter, but Georgia's just like you expect them to just run the score up on everyone because that's what they've done for the past 2 years. I forgot what their like regular season winning streak is at, but it's up there, right? And they haven't had too many close calls. I get it, like it's on the road at Kentucky, but offense just like couldn't get going. I think Swift didn't really have that great of a game if I remember correctly, and Carson Beck really wasn't passing for much either. It's probably just like a little bump in the road. Maybe they overlooked it. Because I don't know who they're playing this week, but I know they have Alabama coming up, so they're probably looking ahead to like, okay, who's the real competition here?
Right.
But yeah, they kind of just get out by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah. I think time of possession was a big thing in that game. Anytime you're the team that should be blowing the other team out, if the time of possession is very lopsided, I feel the lesser team is always going to have at least a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Kentucky did well enough where they controlled the ball to keep the game close. They just couldn't make that one play that ended up winning them the game.
Yeah.
But it's definitely I don't think it's too promising for Georgia. It's one game and you could chalk it up to, like you said, they're looking forward, but Kirby Smart is, I feel, a little bit beyond that point of not having his players mentally prepared like that and thinking forward. So I don't know how much I would chalk it up to that. The players, maybe, I don't know. Maybe Kentucky was just fired up to play and get an opportunity because they haven't had the greatest start.
Yeah, and that just happens sometimes. And now that I'm looking at it, Georgia has a bye week, and then they play Alabama at Alabama too.
So
in 2 weeks. So probably looking ahead and not really caring as much about that. And then earlier in the day, seeing how Alabama took care of business against Wisconsin, they're probably thinking, okay, forget about these Wildcats. Let's move on to the Tide.
Yeah, and like I said, Kentucky just did a much better job of moving the ball. They had I think almost double the amount of first downs that Georgia had. So Georgia's talent at the end of the day, I feel like probably was the difference, which is just a 1 point difference, which is kind of scary. But at the end of the day, they won. Now they get to get a bye week, kind of watch what happened, fix it before probably the biggest game of the year for them.
Yeah, definitely for them. And I, if I remember correctly, with the podcast too, or not the podcast, the broadcast, Kentucky's quarterback transferred from Georgia, I believe. It's a little revenge kind of game.
Yeah.
He didn't do too great. I think what it was, really, at least how I felt with Kentucky was, they got that early lead, they held on to the ball forever, but you knew if Georgia was going to take the lead, they're probably not driving down and putting something on the board if they needed to, if anything,
right,
like a miracle play or something, right? But still knocked the number one team, in the mouth, and I'm pretty sure Georgia dropped a few spots.
They did.
Okay, yeah.
You're number 3, I believe, now.
Okay, yeah. So still now, I think Ohio State's still 3, so they might be 2.
They might be 2.
Regardless, they dropped down. At the end of the season, I don't know how much is going to be held against Georgia. Obviously, the next week after a, tough win against a lesser opponent, you should drop down. But I don't know if it's going to have too much impact on their end of season ranking before the playoff.
I think it'll only be really impacted if they had a blowout loss to Alabama to follow it.
Yeah, and then you can kind of point to that, this was a sign that this team isn't as good as we expected them to be, or how they've been the past couple of years. Yeah,
it wasn't just a one game mystery. It was kind of this is what you're getting.
Yeah,
but I will say, a lot of people forget this, and it's I give props to Georgia for, instead of getting impatient and rushing and maybe forcing stuff and creating bad situations for themselves, like turnovers, they kind of were this is the situation we're in. We're going to ride it out. We're just going to trust the defense, and we're just going to finish the game. I have a lot of respect for that when I've seen a lot of teams just try to force it. Nothing's happening. They keep forcing it. Turnovers happen, and they end up losing the game. So I think it's a testament to the coaching staff just being everybody relax. We're still in position to win. Just play it out and be patient. And I think that paid off really for them.
Yeah, well, they've all been there before. Like I said, they have this ridiculous regular season winning streak, and it's not like it's a team I don't know, let's we've talked about Notre Dame a bunch, so I'll just throw them out there. It's not like a Notre Dame where they think of themselves as this higher level team, and like when they get behind a lesser opponent, they're like just trying so hard to prove that they're still, on top of their stuff, and they can be considered one of the best teams in the country.
And honestly, that's a good point too, because Notre Dame ended up throwing 2 interceptions against Northern Illinois. So that goes to my point of forcing the ball and turning it over.
Right. And Georgia just trusts themselves. They trust the process because they know their stuff, and it ends up working out for them in the end.
Yeah. Next, gotta talk about Texas.
The new number one.
Yeah, Texas played UTSA, which an unranked Group of 5 opponent. But the big story is Quinn Ewers went down with an injury, and it's the one time he probably didn't want to go down with an injury because you have Arch Manning sitting behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And now Texas has got a decision because apparently Quinn Ewers' injury isn't too serious, and he probably should be back. I don't know what you do, because Arch Manning played really good. Granted, he played against a Group of 5 opponent, so you can't really judge it. Quinn Ewers has played against big time opponents and has won. So, in my opinion, I think they stick with Quinn Ewers until he proves otherwise that he can't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any need to rush to Arch Manning right now.
I totally agree. I mean, yeah, week before Quinn Ewers goes to Michigan and really kind of runs up the score on a pretty good defense there, got to control the whole game. Arch Manning played great. Again, it's against UTSA and in relief. I think Quinn's going to miss a few games. Again, it's not that serious of an injury, apparently. I think it's something like abdominal. But this kind of gives Arch some reps and gives Texas fans a glimpse at what the future could be. Because right now, it's Quinn Ewers' time. I mean, he has kind of proven himself. He's
earned it.
He's earned it. Absolutely. Brings you to the playoff last year, and he's off to a great start this year. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a conversation, if you will. I think they'll just go back to Ewers when he gets back.
Right. I think is that all we have for? Yeah. We can move on to one of my favorite games of the week, which was Boston College and Missouri. That was a fun one to watch, back and forth. There was a time where it looked like BC was going to run away with it, and there was a time then Missouri looked like they were going to run away with it. Ended up being close right until the end. I mean, again with the turnovers, Boston College turned it over twice, and I got to say that's the difference, because Missouri didn't have any turnovers. So once you start throwing interceptions and fumbling, you're pretty much behind the 8 ball a lot there, especially if you're not forcing any turnovers. So other than that, it was just a gritty game. I'd say the only other big difference is maybe the running game. I think Missouri had 160 something yards rushing. BC, I think, ran for barely 2 yards a carry. Yeah.
Now what you want to see.
No, that is recipe for disaster. I think it was, I should have the notes up, but I think it was something like 25 carries. Yeah, 26 carries, 49 yards total as a team. That is, for 1.9 average. And
the limited amount that I've seen of BC, I know their quarterback Castellanos, like he's kind of a runner. He can freaking move it, man. He's really quick. And I didn't realize how small he is. He looks really small against all of his. Obviously, his linemen are huge, but he's just short and he's super skinny too. He's kind of reminds me of like Kyler Murray a little bit, just at least with his build.
That's the big comparison is Kyler Murray.
Yeah, he's still pretty good. I have been impressed with him when I've watched him. But really, I think it's the close game is a testament to just. I don't want to say like full on turnaround quite yet for BC, and I don't even know if I would say it a turnaround, but Bill O'Brien has them playing pretty good against some decent opponents. Like they go down to number 6 Missouri, SEC school,
Right.
and they hang around with them for most of the game. So I don't know if BC's ranked anymore, but I expect them to be back in the rankings again.
I can't imagine they drop out of the top 25 to losing to the number 6 team in the country. I feel like that would be so flawed and rigged. I mean, there's no way.
Flawed and rigged? No.
Yeah, no way.
No,
not a shot. In my opinion, there's no way they fall out of the top 25. I don't know what argument you would have for them dropping out other than they lost. And
that would be just the only argument, essentially.
Yeah, which is they lost to the number 6 team in the country. Okay, if I'm going to lose, I'll lose like that.
Yeah. I think that they have BC has Michigan State this week. Who's not that great, and they might be able to stomp them. It's a home game.
Yeah.
I think that they're playing pretty good, and with the ACC kind of in flux a little bit with some of the teams, like the expected good teams like Florida State. We'll be talking about them.
Yeah.
Clemson's still ranked and doing okay, I guess. But yeah, I think they're right in the thick of it at least.
All right. We are going to move on to a very hot topic in the college football world. Nick, you're probably going to have a lot because a lot of this is team-oriented stuff, not just football stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just the state of Colorado right now. They beat Colorado State. Colorado State did all that trash talking and whatnot prior, which is expected. It's a rivalry game. You're going to talk. You're going to talk your junk, and you're going to have fun with it. And Colorado kind of stomps them. And after the game, Shedeur Sanders walked out, and they were all going to shake hands. And the quarterback for Colorado State went up to shake his hand, and he didn't shake his hand. He kind of just pointed at him, laughed at him, and walked away.
I saw that he thought he was like he said something like he thought he was the equipment manager or something, which is really stupid.
Yeah, and we're going to get into his lame excuses because he's in football pads. You just watched him the entire game play, and you're trying to tell me you thought that was an equipment manager?
And then he had said something to him about because I guess the guy was like trash talking to him on Instagram, and he sent some comment about that too.
Which is fine. It's a rivalry game. Colorado acts like they don't talk any trash, which is crazy.
Arguably, they talk too much.
Yeah. They're too loud, and we're gonna get into that too. I think in a rebuilding phase, because that's what they're in. Colorado is in a rebuilding phase. It's way too loud over there, if you ask me. I was a big fan of Colorado pulling off Deion Sanders, because if I ever thought Deion was going to go coach college football, it wasn't going to be Colorado. It was going to be Alabama. It was going to be Michigan, Florida State. It was going to be one of those schools. And he took the Colorado job, and I've been pretty pro Colorado and pro Deion Sanders, I think, up until this point. Last week really flipped me a little bit. I think you could have competitive, like juices flowing. You can talk, crap to each other, but at the end of the day, it's a football game, and you should probably shake someone's hand after the game, especially if they're coming up to you. If they're man enough to know they were talking and lost, and not only lost, got blown out, but still come up to you and shake your hand, I think I'd say he earned the respect. And we can talk about Travis Hunter was pretty much, I heard, hugging the guy that hurt him last year. He took that nasty hit. And Travis Hunter doesn't seem to have any problems with giving some guys respect. And the other Deion son, he runs their social media, and
he runs Colorado's social media.
Deion's son, he has another son that just runs their social media.
Like the Colorado football team social media.
Yes.
Oh Jesus.
Well, it's his own thing. It's his own channel, but he records everything that goes, pretty much everything that goes on there.
Yeah.
And the title was "He Should Have Shook His Hand." So I didn't watch it, but I'm kind of like already like, well, your brother's title is "You Should Have Shook His Hand." So
yeah,
maybe get the clue. And like I said, Nick, you can give your thoughts on that kind of sportsmanship.
Yeah, I feel like at that level, it's hard. I think it's hard for any human being to swallow their pride sometimes, especially in a tight rivalry. You know, you lost. It's like, it's tough. I mean, I had maybe one or two beer league games where I'm like, I'm not going to shake the other team's hands at the end of the game just because they're playing really dirty, but we're not professionals. So when you're playing dirty and trying to injure it, it's kind of different. But these are professionals, and I feel like that handshake at the end of the game is sort of a sacred tradition. It's one of those things that keeps the integrity of the sport. It keeps it professional. And so I understand it's hard, but I think you kind of have to abide. It's one of those unspoken rules that you kind of have to ride along with regardless.
I like putting it that way. It's like the unspoken rule of it, because there is no rule saying you have to shake anybody's hand. No, but it's kind of expected, to be honest. And
It is.
And especially, like I said, if the guy has the guts to come up to you and shake your hand after he knows he talked some smack and got his behind whooped.
Yeah.
Justin, do you have any thoughts on that whole thing?
Yeah, I didn't like it, obviously. I'm in favor of being like the bigger man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Colorado State quarterback, trash talk Shadir, fine. He's swallowing his pride and walking up to you to shake your hand and say the good game. And you should respect that. You should respect, like, hey, you know what? I gave it back to you. I kind of proved you wrong, and I appreciate you owning up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But he didn't. He went the opposite way. And
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I think that just speaks to the bigger circus that's around Colorado, which I feel like that's kind of what Dion is. I don't want to say circus, but like he wants the attention on them. He just wants all the talk, like all that stuff, right? But it was cool last year when they, beat TCU and they were looking to be pretty good, and then they win 3 or 4 games, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get to that point, I think you have to, you got to prove yourself first, right?
Yeah, you gotta win games, and you gotta win before you start doing all that.
Right. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of, I wouldn't say to the same extent, but back when like the Legion of Boom first started, like in 2012, Patriots had a away game in Seattle, and afterwards, Richard Sherman came up to Brady and said, "You mad, bro?" Like that famous meme, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And at that point, it's like, all right, it's like your second year in the league, dude, and you're walking up to, at that time it was a debate, but now it's not, the greatest quarterback of all time, and you're talking all this like smack. Chill out.
Yeah.
If it was a few years later, after they had won a Super Bowl and really solidified themselves as one of the best defenses of all time, then that's a different story.
Different story.
I don't typically like that stuff. That's just not the kind of person I am. But I'd really like you to just like have some oomph behind your trash talk, but they don't. I mean, like Shadir, he plays pretty good, right? But they're not winning games
also
in the way that they should, right?
Yeah, and also they take a loss obviously last week to Nebraska, and that's kind of the level they hold themselves to, is like that top 25 tier. They haven't proven that yet. They go out and beat Colorado State, who hasn't been that good for, I couldn't even tell you how long. Maybe on and off good, and maybe on and off bad, but they're not at the level of Nebraska. And then all of a sudden you're back on your high horse. You know what I mean? Like,
that makes it even worse. That makes it even worse.
Yeah,
because they got their
they made it seem like they beat Nebraska.
Right. No, and you got your butts handed to you in Nebraska, right?
Right.
And it really wasn't even close. Like they were so many bad plays from Colorado. Like there was that really terrible Shedeur interception where he's like backed up in his end zone and throws an out route, and it's just like you saw the guy
he throws it without a care in the world.
The D-back knew exactly where he was throwing. Like he didn't even pick him off, right? So you come off of that terrible performance, and you beat, what's supposed to be a lesser opponent, and then you're gonna really hype it up. No, you can't hype it up like that, man. Like if you beat like someone who's like ranked and is a good team, but not a team that you're supposed to be beating anyway. No, I don't like that.
I think Shedeur Sanders he's in that weird position because, he has to stay confident and he can't kind of back down on his personality now because he put himself out there like that. And if he backs out of it, he's going to seem probably even worse than what he is now. I kind of wish he just modeled after Travis Hunter. If you hear the way Dion talks about Travis Hunter, you would think Travis Hunter was his son.
Yeah.
Because he's all business. He doesn't care much of the limelight or anything like that. And you know what? And if he did, I'd say more to him because I personally think he's doing way more for the team than either other.
He's playing like every snap. Like he's I mean, obviously Shadeur's not going to do that being the quarterback league. He's just going to play quarterback, but like he's putting his body on the line for the team, like just going all out every game. And I like his attitude so much more than Shadeur's. Yes, Travis like kind of talks here and there, and it just looks like he has fun playing the game too, which I enjoy too.
There's a different standard when you're a wide receiver and a corner versus a quarterback. Mm-hmm. When you're a quarterback, you are the face of that team, and how you act is how the people perceive your team as. Mm-hmm. You have to be, and I guess credit to him, he wants to be his own person, but at the end of the day, you got to watch what you're saying, what you're doing. He trashed his offensive line against the Nebraska game, and then he comes out for this press conference with all of his offensive linemen behind him. So it's like, so you trash them, and now you want to, oops, I trashed my O-line. Let me act like I don't trash them and I love them, and bring them out for the post-game press conference, which is kind of you could see right through him. Mm-hmm. You really can, and he doesn't think anybody could see right through him.
Yeah. So good segue to this question that I wanted to ask you. I saw a mock draft. I don't know who it was, don't know where it was from, whatever, mm-hmm. of the Giants selecting Shedeur Sanders with they projected to have a second round pick, whatever. So as someone who I witnessed, rooted for Daniel Jones to throw a bunch of pick sixes over the weekend because you want him out of there, would you like to have Shedeur as your quarterback for the Giants?
As a talent, yeah. As a human being and a leader right now, no. If the Giants, or if we don't even have to go specific to the Giants. If you're a team that has been down bad, you don't want to draft a guy with questionable integrity and sportsmanship and with a track record of blaming his offensive line. You're trying to build a culture, and that's not going to work. If Shadeur's going to work in the NFL, he's got to go to a team that's ready to win, where he can go in, they can tell him how it is, and they're proven. So let's say Brock Purdy doesn't work out when he goes to the 49ers somehow. Just like a crazy scenario right here. Then I think that's better for him because, like I said, they respect it because they win. They're in the NFC Championship every year. And he cannot dictate the culture as a quarterback going into that environment, where he can go into the Giants and dictate the environment because everybody stinks around him. So no, I don't think it would be a good pick for the Giants or anybody that is kind of in that top 5 to 10 range, maybe. But who knows? Maybe halfway through the season, Dion has to sit down with them and he changes because people can change. Maybe, but until then, I'm out on Shedeur Sanders with the Giants.
Yeah, and I feel like he's just going to get picked in the top 10. That's just what all the mock drafters are saying right now.
Regardless.
Yeah, right. So here's another thing that I just thought of too. We're getting a little into crazy town here, but we may assume the Giants are going to get rid of Daboll after this year, right?
Yeah,
because they're upset with how the team's gone. They're kind of they've gone in the wrong direction. There have also been rumors, or maybe just postulating, just in thoughts, that Dion is going to be done at Colorado after this year because Shadir's going to be gone, Travis is going to be gone. So, what if the Giants hired Dion and then they draft him? That's crazy town. That's crazy town. But we're giving some hot ideas here. Just I mean, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility, right?
The one thing I'll say about Deion Sanders is when he says something, I kind of believe him. And he's gone on record numerous times saying he doesn't want to coach the NFL players. He wants to help the kids, which I do believe he wants to help them, but some of that has maybe been clouded, and we can get into that because I have a topic on here to talk about that too. But I don't after what's happening to Colorado, what NFL owner is going to want that?
One who is we see it all the time with coaches hired just because of their name.
Maybe an organization where it's like the Browns, maybe where there's not tradition of winning or a tradition of that respect, but a lineage like the Giants where you get Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick in there and Tom Coughlin. I cannot see Tisch and Mara going that direction.
This is more of a Jaguars head coach signing than
they
had Urban Meyer a couple years after he
that's a better example
done at Ohio State. It's just like, oh, let's just hire the big name, right? I agree with you. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I think it's a fun thinking exercise.
That would be nuts.
Yeah, it would be. I do think that he's better suited for college because he's like, I think some coaches have that like rah mentality where it's like they're all into the tradition of college and getting their players hyped and stuff, which I think is just different in the NFL. Like it's kind of your job in a way. Like, all right, you show up for work, you play the game, you go home, that type of thing. But I do think it's an interesting thought, though. Like I don't think it's completely 100% out of the realm of possibility.
No, I don't think anything is.
But I would lean to him either just like being done at Colorado, or moving on somewhere else. I don't know. I don't see him in the NFL.
So
but,
that's my next topic is if it doesn't work out. Well, I shouldn't say if it doesn't work out. Can Dion even get Colorado to be a powerhouse college football team? Because when you think of college football, you don't really think of Colorado. If Dion, let's say, went to Florida State, I feel like he'd have way better chance of regrowing that and winning championships there than staying at Colorado.
Why do you think that? I'm curious.
Because in the land of college football, I don't know the best way to describe it, but let's go on like a 5-star basis, right? When I think of 5-star programs, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, all those teams, I'm thinking like premier schools. And then you have your like 4-star schools, which are the ones that have a little bit less, to them. They're not as well known, like an Ole Miss, right?
Yep.
And teams like that. And then you have your 2 and 1-star programs, which 1-star UMass, UConn, not a lot of history. 2-star programs would be teams like Army,
like a Tulane or Tulsa or something.
Tulane, Tulsa, where they have some history, they have some championships and Heisman's behind them. but they're in that lower tier of college football. Colorado to me is like right in the middle of that, 2-3 stars. I think 3 stars is even pushing it. I mean, if you're a recruit, right, and you have a chance to either go to Colorado or play for, I don't know, let's say Florida. I mean, granted, the state of Florida right now is not like they're not in great shape right now. However, to play in the swamp, to play in the SEC, to play against, you win, you go 12-0, you're in the 13-0, you're in the playoffs guaranteed. You're top 4 team to get the bye if that's how that works. So I don't know if Dion's name is clearly not enough to drag recruits to him, right?
I think it is to an extent. He does have that pull. Like the kids want to get coached by Dion,
I don't think it's as much as you think because
no, I agree with you. It's not like to the full extent. Where like, okay, we're gonna get like the number 2 or 3 overall quarterback in the country coming out of high school.
Yes,
we're gonna get him to come to Colorado. Not that. I think it's something.
Yeah, but kids are still picking Georgia, Alabama, USC. They're still picking those schools because they have the history of winning. Colorado doesn't. Dion's name, which honestly at the beginning I thought it was going to be enough to pull recruits. But then you go 4-8 and then you don't show too much improvement this year. And it's kind of like, where do you go from here? What if it doesn't work out at Colorado? I got to say he'll probably be the number 1 candidate for the Florida State job. I got to imagine.
That's kind of going the wrong direction, right?
Yeah, because that's over and done with. But I think we've talked enough about Colorado. We can move along here really quick to Florida State, which is ironic.
One other brief comment about Colorado, and then we can move on. Travis Hunter did start at Jackson State, so that is one big kind of player that Dion brought over to an even lower program than Colorado.
Yeah.
But I still agree with you. I don't think it's like enough of a goal to get from Colorado, but
in the grand scheme of it, like he's going to snag a player here and there, but he's not going to get enough where he's going to build an offensive line, build a defensive line. So
enough on Dion.
I guess we'll have to see, but moving on, we'll move on to Florida State because they are an absolute train wreck.
Dumpster fire.
Probably worse than Colorado, to be honest. The 0-3 start. They lose to Memphis, who's still a group of 5 school in the American. Not that Memphis are any slouches, but this is I picked Florida State to win because I thought for sure, like, they can't be this bad.
But they are.
Like, they're gonna be angry about the first 2 games. This is gonna be that kind of one win that kind of leads into like a 6-6 season. 6 wins is a stretch right now, especially you're already 0-3. You're already halfway to being 0-6,
and things don't get easier. You still got to play like your conference opponents.
Yeah. So I don't know where the coach has got to be gone, right? To be honest, I'm surprised he's even still there.
I think it's too early to fire him. I don't even know how long he's been there, but like I was gonna say like the last year going undefeated until getting smacked by Georgia in their bowl game. I feel like that like saves them a little bit, if anything. But
maybe
I kind of worry at this point.
How much of that was the quarterback? They lost him, and then they lost the conference or they barely won the conference championship, and then they got annihilated in the bowl game.
Yeah, but I think that this bad of a start, like if they were like really like close games and they still played well, all right, like sometimes it's just a coin flip, fine. But they are just bad. Like we talked about it before. You expect so much more from DJU having been in college football for so long, right? And
seeing
like
so many different teams and
and he is. I remember the first game I watched him. I'm pretty sure it was Clemson Notre Dame, and you're like, oh, here we go. Clemson did it again. Like they had Deshaun Watson, and they move on to Trevor Lawrence, and now they got this guy. Like, are you kidding me? They're just going to keep pumping him out. and he is like a completely different player from that. Like, I think I forgot what.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that meme where it was like, who was Florida State's quarterback last year? His name is slipping my
Jordan
mind.
Travis.
Yeah, they said this is like the biggest quarterback fall off since Trevor Lawrence and DJ.
Yeah, basically.
This guy literally had to succeed to of really premier college athletes, and he has just looked horrendous.
Yeah,
I can't even defend him.
he at one point he was 5 for 5 for 7 yards in the game.
Yeah, man. There's more memes of like people going on college football 25 in practice mode, and they just hit the button to throw it away, throw it out of bounds, and they're saying like it's brutal, dude. I don't know how he's got a 33.6 QBR on the year.
Bad. Yeah, they might have to bench him. Like, I know he's like,
that's why I think the coach is going to get fired, because why hasn't it been done already?
Because you who knows how much they like spent in NIL to get him there, right? And it's just like a kind of a a middle finger to the to the I guess sponsors want whoever like donates for NIL. Yeah, it's just kind of like, sorry guys, like I spent all your money on this guy that was supposed to keep us afloat, and he ain't doing it. So we're just gonna ignore the money that you spent, and we're gonna get this other guy.
It's funny you brought up the NILs, because on College Football Final, one of the CBS guys was saying it's literally become culture versus money. And I think Florida State might be running into that right now, because I believe they have a lot of transfer portals. So you got a bunch of guys that aren't really committed to each other, because obviously if you're transferring all over the place, you don't really have a commitment quite yet. And now you're 0-3, and you're probably already rethinking, okay, where's my next stop?
Yeah, you're already out of there. Like you're not going to be putting up the stats that you want. You're not going to be getting like NFL looks or anything. So you're probably thinking, okay, where's my next stop so I can actually like make the most of my college career.
Yeah, which, we have some notes for like just in general college football stuff, and that's in here, is just the cash flow versus, the culture war. Like what I don't, obviously it's good that the players are getting paid. I think they deserve something. I didn't expect them to come out with the NIL with just no rules or regulations or just anything to it.
It's the NCAA. We should have expected that.
Yeah, it's literally just a train wreck. They were literally just like, all right, here, have at it.
No.
Have a field day.
Nothing is really organized with NCAA. Like, how do you have the Pac-12 just completely collapse in a year?
Right.
Like, teams just jump ship. They go to different conferences. Right. Now it's the Pac-2. I know they're like looking at other schools to kind of rebuild it.
They already have 4 schools committed to them,
which is it's good. That's good, but still, like there's just no.
But it's still going to come at a cost of a conference, because I think the Mountain West is going to fall apart now.
Yeah, so
because now Air Force is talking about going to the American with Army and Navy. So
yeah, there's just no consistency across the board. Like just in the NCAA, like it's great that they started the playoff. Of course, we have more controversy with it every year, and we'll see how much that controversy is this year with like,
there can't be controversy.
This 13th team in the country, they should have been in the playoff. Hopefully we don't have that. But I didn't know this because again I didn't start really paying attention to college football until 2016. But prior to, what was it? Is it the F? Whatever they did to decide what the national championship game was. Before that, they just voted on who the national champion was, like the press or whatever. Like, how do you have that? It doesn't make any sense. How do you not play for a championship and you have voters do it? Like, at least in different sport, but Premier League, they accumulate points over the year, and at the end of the season, whoever has the most points is the champion. It's not like they play a championship game.
So,
but at least it's result based and it's not like subjective where all these voters have, opinions and allegiances to a certain school, certain conference, or whatever that sways their thoughts. Like that, it just makes no sense to me. But at least
I
that's
gotta
in the
be
past,
honest.
but still.
I gotta be honest. I disagree.
Okay.
Because what is the college football playoff? It's a group of dudes saying who should be, at least for the past few years, who should be the top 4 schools, and you've been getting that argument with, oh well, number 5 should have got in, Florida State should have got in. It shouldn't have been Cincinnati. It should have been Alabama or whatever it was, or whatever the case was.
I get what you're saying, but I think it's better than just like, okay, we're going to say that Ohio State's a national champion just because, they won their bowl game, they're undefeated, but they're here. Alabama is over here. They're also undefeated and won their conference championship. So we're just going to say this, like again, this is in like the 80s, 90s, around there. That's just wild to me, and it's just
to me, I like
the time with the NCAA that they're trying to figure stuff out, at least football wise.
I like the BCS system.
That's what it was called, BCS. I couldn't remember it.
I prefer it that way right now, only because the only big argument for the playoff was, less blowouts. Can you tell me how many blowouts were in the playoffs so far?
It's been a few.
There's been a ton of blowouts. It's the same thing, just with more games. It's a money thing. It has nothing to do with, the BCS system wasn't working because this group of people who have been involved with college football for a long time are voting in on who should be in the national title game. But now we're doing the same thing, except it's more teams and more money.
Yep.
That's just my take. And honestly, Nick can butt in on this too, because it's an injury problem as well. Nick, how would you feel if, I don't know, like, hey, we have a bunch of players complaining about injuries and how long the season is and how football like really takes a toll on your body. But I'm completely okay with playing an almost full pro schedule.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like money talks at the end of the day. That's what gets everybody going. It's the common denominator. That being said, I think if more players are getting injured as a result with the more rigorous schedule, you got to prioritize health.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like football always talks about, health, concussions this, concussion that, protect the kids, protect the players. Oh, but you're fine to play potentially how many games? What would it be? Let's say 13 with your conference championship. You're potentially playing 16 games, 17 games.
I think at most 16. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. It's all about the injuries until, like you said, Nick, the money becomes a factor, which the money's always going to win. But I'd rather have them just say it's a money thing than being like, oh yeah, the old system wasn't working, or oh, this wasn't really working either, so we're going to try this now. Because like you said, Justin, before, who's going to be that 13th team to get left out, and then they're complaining? And then we're at I don't know, like what's the next step from 12, 16 team playoff?
I want to say that 12 would be the max, but who knows? Because I feel like, we haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen what it's going to look like. But
Division II does more. I think Division II has more playoff teams.
Yeah, why can't we look at that? Like, I feel like they have a better idea of, like,
it's a different level. It's such a different level, though. Like, even just the sheer weight and strength of players, like, think about it. An Alabama and Georgia player going at it one-on-one is not the same thing as someone from, I don't know, let's say Fordham and North Dakota State. Definitely not the same impact.
Yeah, I think maybe too with at least Division I, you have, I think there's even like a talent gap between like conferences, right? So like Big Ten, SEC, probably at the top, maybe a little bit of a drop down, Big 12, ACC, and then whatever other conferences like Mountain West American. Like, so like if Ohio State plays I don't know, like they played Army a few years ago. Mass, and it's different because it's their academy school, but massive difference in like just build of the players, the skill level, and they're playing the same sport essentially. It's not like they're playing different, like Division 1 versus Division 2.
Yeah, no, they are in the same division,
right?
And that's an excellent point. Is
with Division 2, it's all pretty much like obviously one team better than the other, but it's all pretty much like within the same realm. Like they're playing the same sport, right?
There was a team this weekend that won 87-10 because they were playing a Division 2 opponent.
Yeah.
So it's just not the same thing. Anyway, next topic is 6th, 7th, and 8th year seniors.
Get a job.
Nick, what are your I was just gonna say, Nick, what are your thoughts if I told you in the NFL there is a Pro Bowl kicker, his name is Justin Tucker. He's been in the league for quite some time now. He's considered one of the all-time greats in the NFL kicking the ball. And there's a college kicker at Colorado State that is only 2 to 3 years younger than him.
My response to that would be boy, what the hell? Like, I feel like, to be honest, I know he's playing professional football in college, but I wouldn't even want to be in college for that long. Yeah, no way.
My point exactly with that, man.
Yeah, 8 years is a long time to be playing college. I think, and if he's in college football for that long, he's got to be good enough that he could make the jump to the NFL if he wanted. No,
usually they stay because they can.
They can, and they're trying to get in.
Yeah,
they're trying to get in.
I mean, like there's plenty of times where you have players leave school early and they don't, go all the way through. They don't burn up all their NCAA eligibility, right?
Right.
And those players, most of the time, do this. I'm not going to say a smart thing, but they do it when they're at a level where they're probably going to get drafted, right? So, as an example, Ohio State had a running back, Mayan Williams, who was there I think he was at least the past 2 years prior to this year. I vaguely remember like him being on the team. He was really good, right? But he got rid of the rest of his eligibility and he went into the draft.
Right.
Didn't get drafted.
Yep.
Right. So in his case, he probably should have stuck around and maybe, got another year under his belt, more film for him, and maybe he could have gotten better. But with these guys, they resigned to the fact that I'm probably not going to make the league. So this is it. I gotta keep playing.
But what's even worse against these players is there's the XFL now, which is almost like a stepping stone in between. At least have some dignity and be like, my time here in college is up. Let me go to the XFL and see what I can do there. And at some point, you got to be honest with yourself. Yeah. My biggest problem with this whole thing is you basically have some grown men's strength playing in a kid's game. The youngest player in college football right now is 16 years old.
Is he 16 or is he? Well, who are you talking about? Isn't there someone? I want to say like Boise State or something. There was like a 17-year-old.
Not Boise State. Not Boise State.
I can't remember what it was.
It's one of the bigger schools. I can't remember which one I was watching. I might come up with it later.
Regardless, he's not even like 18.
Yeah. And then what? The normal graduation age is 22?
22, 23. Yeah, somewhere there.
Yeah. There's no way people in their late 20s, early 30s should be playing college football. There's no way.
And it's Nick, to give you just some context here too, the reason that they have so much eligibility is partially because of the COVID year. There were schools that either like just didn't play all together. Like I know that Ivy League football, they did not.
They played at all. A lot of teams played like 5 to 10 games, didn't play a full schedule.
Right. There were several games like canceled because of not having enough players because of COVID.
outbreaks.
Yeah, right. So that's part of it. And then they also get more years of eligibility if they're injured. So I forgot the guy.
But they have to be injured for an extent of time.
Right.
If they were, I think it's I could be way wrong, but let's say eight games or more, they can be granted another year of eligibility.
Right. Like there's one guy for Miami. I think it's their tight end.
Yes.
This his 8th or 9th year.
It's probably 8 or 9. I don't know.
It's one of those. But he started out at Oregon, and he's had like a couple like really serious knee injuries, and COVID along with it, and they just keep granting him eligibility. This is his last year, I think. Hopefully, and then he can go into the adult workforce.
Cam Rising is another one. The Utah
quarterback. Yeah, I know.
He's another guy that just sticks around.
Yeah, and you'd think like with these guys that like they're around for so long, they would be good and like just be like a veteran quarterback in the NFL. And I mean, some of them are good. Let's not like Cam Rising is a good player, right? But you kind of would expect them to be a little bit better because like again they got that grown man strength in their mid to late 20s and they're playing against a bunch of 18-year-olds.
Yeah,
so it's kind of wild.
And I'm not even sure, like, being around for that long, I'm not sure they command the same type of respect that a longtime NFL vet would, because it's like, man, you're still here in college.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good
point, Nick. Same type of leadership. And I mean, look, if they want to leave and go to the XFL, get another job, the DC Defenders are hiring. Come to DC, come to us. We have beer, snakes, and lemons. Or go to the CFL in Canada. Go international. But stop taking
There's options.
Stop taking up roster spots that could be scholarships for younger kids that are just getting their feet wet in college. Stop taking that spot from them. You've had your time. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I mean, really quick before we wrap this part up, there was a guy who served in the military and then went to a college team to have eligibility left, and it's like, what? Why is that allowed? It's crazy to me. A real quick thing, news that Arkansas is putting like advertisements on their field. I'm not sure which advertisements. That's kind of big news because I didn't think football would ever be in that position where they.
Ohio State does it. So they
really,
Ohio State. The stadium is Ohio Stadium, but the ad on the field is Safe Light, so it's Safe Light Field at Ohio Stadium. Yeah, they do it.
Okay, that's fine, but I think they're putting just random ones down.
One of them was Walmart, I think, and then the other one might have been Aflac. I don't know.
Like what
needs more ads? They're everywhere.
Again, it's all about the money, and
all about money.
Yeah, to kind of go off of that too. I should look back to see what school it was. I want to say it was Tennessee. Oh yeah, Tennessee. They plan to add a 10% surcharge to all season and single game ticket sales for a talent fee. Talent fee. Yes, you heard me correctly. That, I guess, is to help pay for like NIL stuff. Like
talent fee. What championship have they won and that they deserve that?
Thank you. They're just trying to squeeze every last penny out. Except they don't have enough money.
That is, I've never heard anything like that. That is
like you said, money talks, and money talks.
Hot take, but I think instead of putting ads on the field, if you're going to put ads in the game like that, put them on jerseys. I know that's a hot take.
Don't get me started. Do you like that? Do you like that? I know the NHL.
Oh, I despise it, but I think I'd rather see that than seeing these big Walmart paintings on my field. These ugly paintings of Walmart.
Yeah,
and at least I guess still be like less visible, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, especially with the advertisements on jerseys. Like the Celtics are a pretty good example of what I like. Like they've had GE, Vistaprint, and I can't remember. Oh, Amica. Amica is their new one. So with those jerseys, the logo goes with the green and white.
Right.
And then you have other teams like the Thunder, where they have loves, which is something like tractor trailer or something, but the OKC jerseys are like a lighter blue, and then the logo is like red, yellow, and orange. Which OKC does have some orange, but it just looks like glaringly like obvious on there, and like it's really noticeable, and it's not that great. So if you have to put it on jerseys, at least make it match the colors. But it's tough to do that with the field. Like for Ohio State with the safe light, it's just white, so it just kind of blends into the field. You don't really notice it. But if it's like a colorful logo, maybe then it's like, I'm finding myself becoming more numb to that stuff. Like when you look at like hockey from like overseas, and they're just plastered with ads like from the helmet. Exactly, like that. That's egregious. But if they have, and I mean, they don't have to do it. They just want to make as much money as possible. But if they have to, I'm okay with how they're kind of doing it in the various leagues.
All right. Well, before we wrap up college football, there's some top 25 matchups this week. Let's maybe give our picks. Mm-hmm. We'll start with Illinois, Nebraska.
That Pat Mahomes doppelganger. I'm not even going to say doppelganger because that implies that they like unintentionally.
We're different people.
We know Dylan Raiola intentionally acts and looks like Pat Mahomes. Regardless, despite that, I'm going to go Nebraska. I think he's pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And it is at home for them too. I mean, the Fighting Illini, they're kind of better than people expected, but I'll give the edge to Nebraska for that.
Yeah, I'm going to take Nebraska as well. I think the biggest difference for me is home field advantage right there.
And Nick, I didn't know too much about Nebraska too. Like I know they have some history in like the 90s and everything, but like they got some pretty good fans there, and the stadium is
yeah, for sure.
For that Colorado game, that was kind of an electric environment.
But see, Nebraska is like one of those 4-star colleges I was talking about before when you're talking about elite programs and different programs. Yeah. Is they have a very good history, and probably because of that strong fan base. Nick, you want to? I know you don't know much, but you want to give a pick the state of Illinois or Nebraska?
You got to give the team names too. So I think Illinois is just the Fighting Illini, which is like kind of a stupid name.
It's
whatever.
It's so.
If you're from Illinois, don't get upset with me. And then Nebraska is the Cornhuskers.
Yeah.
Oh boy. See. Yeah. Total amateur perspective because I know nothing, but I'm going with the Corn, baby. Team Corn.
All right. Next one we got is Justin. I already know your pick for this one. USC and Michigan.
Oh, well, actually, that's kind of tough. So, we didn't really talk about Michigan, but they didn't look that great last week. I know they ended up winning against Arkansas State. Running game looks great. But their quarterbacks aren't it, man. Like if it's Alex or
they don't have enough offense.
They don't have enough. I can't even say they don't. Like they have half of an offense because the running game is still as good as it was last year. But I think the difference is JJ McCarthy didn't lose them games. He would pull a play out of his ass every so often, and make something happen. But I don't think that they have that, and they don't have like a game manager. Like Davis Warren threw 3 picks against a much lesser opponent.
Yeah. So,
this is at Michigan. USC's already won a big game against LSU. All right, fine. Go Trojans. I'll go USC. Sorry to my partner Cassie. He's a huge Michigan fan, but I gotta go USC.
I'm gonna go USC, and I'm gonna put this as an overtime game. Actually,
overtime.
I think Michigan's defense might surprise you a little bit in this game. Nick, for you, it's the Trojans versus the Wolverines.
Wolverines.
All right,
that's it.
All right. Well, Nick, it's been great having you on the pod. You can exit stage left.
Next is Utah and Oklahoma State.
Utah without Cam Rising, I believe.
Man.
They still did all right, I think, without him. I'll go OK State. Let me say this about OK State though. When I think it was not last week, the week before, they played Arkansas in that kind of crazy game.
Yes.
You know, Ollie Gordon has been like really hyped up as the best running back in America. I didn't see much, at least against Arkansas. Like it wasn't like he
I mean, he's all right.
I mean, he's all right, yeah. But I he is good, right?
Yeah.
I think this might just be me with my two stellar running backs at Ohio State with Travion Henderson, Keyshawn Judkins, where I'm a little partial to them. But hopefully Ollie can kind of show out and play good for OK State.
I got Oklahoma State. I think Utah, as long as Cam Rising is there, which is potentially going to be a better part of a decade, I don't think Utah's ever going to win anything serious because they're always going to be that team that looks really good and they're going to blow that one game that just is like, what are you guys doing? If they blow that game,
fast,
yeah, there's no way. There's no shot they're beating Oklahoma State, I don't think. I'm going to go on record, and I could be very wrong for this. I would not be surprised if it's a blowout.
Lock it in. Hot take.
So, Nick, it's the Utah Utes versus the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
And we're not talking like Utes, like Utes. It's, I guess, is that what they call people from Utah, the Utes? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm taking the Cowboys, but just a quick aside, Utah, right? They got their NHL team this season. They're going to be the Utah Yeti. That's what they're saying.
Oh, they picked?
Is that confirmed?
Well, it's not confirmed, but Clayton Keller came out, and he's been with the organization for a long time, one of their star forwards, and he said he thinks it's going to be that. That's what he's hearing. And it's like, oh, okay.
Ooh. Is it singular, like Utah Yeti, or Utah Yetis?
Singular.
Okay, I kind of mess with it, and
Yeah.
they got the like navy blue and like light blue. I feel like that's pretty cool. All right.
Not
Probably
bad.
be better than I mean, Arizona Coyotes. That's not a bad name, but like they just didn't do anything for their whole existence.
Yeah, that was tough.
It's tough.
Next game, probably, it's probably the best game on. Tennessee and Oklahoma. At Oklahoma. Oklahoma's first SEC game, I believe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Tennessee. I forgot their quarterback's name, but I know he's pretty good, and they've kind of been lighting it up so far. Yeah, I'll go Tennessee.
I am gonna go Tennessee as well because I don't think Oklahoma quite has that SEC talent in that squad yet. So I think that might be the difference. Nick, it's the Tennessee Volunteers versus the Oklahoma Sooners.
I heard a lot about the Sooners, but I'm going to go Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just so you know, a volunteer, I guess, is a dog. That's their mascot. It's a dog.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's like Stanford with they're the Stanford Cardinals, but they have a tree as a mascot.
Best tree in the game. Our best mascot in the game.
Well, that pretty much does it for college football. On to the NFL.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I feel like the NFL is easy to talk about because there's a lot less teams and it's a lot less chaotic. So I just kind of did more and was focusing on more in general. I guess Saints blow out the Cowboys. We'll start with that, right?
Yeah, that was a good week for people who owned Alvin Kamara in fantasy.
He always goes off like a couple times a year. Just goes absolutely bananas, like with like 3-4 touchdowns.
You guys were pretty confident last week that the Cowboys would win. I was sketch on it. I was definitely sketch on it.
It's Derek Carr. I mean, like it's if you could put odds on,
you can say that about Dak Prescott.
No, let's back up. Like at least Dak Prescott somewhat produces in the regular season. Derek Carr.
So what you're telling me is it's either Derek Carr or the Cowboys will cowboy. I will pick the Cowboys cowboying every time.
Fair, but the Saints have scored. I don't know if this is past true, but it was true for like their first 15 drives. They scored on each of their first 15 drives of the season.
Wow.
It's like they're the 07 Patriots or something. It makes zero sense. Actually, let me rephrase that. It does make sense in the first game because they played Carolina, but not so much with the Cowboys.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the Cowboys got
Yeah.
stomped.
It's kind of like, okay, you did that to Carolina, and then it's just kind of like, oh,
yeah,
now you're doing that to the Cowboys.
Yeah. I don't expect the Saints to just like keep blowing teams out like this. I think it will get like corrected.
No, it'll
and Derek Carr will
settle
Derek
down.
Carr,
the
right?
whole season will settle down.
Yeah, yeah.
But
imagine if it doesn't, though. Let me be the devil advocate here. Imagine if it doesn't. What if the Saints are for real?
That would be, in my opinion, probably one of the craziest, biggest turnarounds in history. I couldn't think of a turnaround as quick as that.
I mean, it does happen where teams just kind of come out of nowhere and they're like, oh, this team, they're doing pretty good. They are in a relatively, I don't want to say like completely like weak division. I don't think that there's a clear front runner in it. I think they're definitely in the mix now. I think I would. Well, I did pick the Falcons prior to the season. Bucks are doing really good too with Baker Mayfield, so they're still in it. I do think that they're going to fade at some point, though.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'll even out, but for the fun of it, if Nick is saying, what if they are legit? If they keep blowing teams out, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders probably for majority of the season,
which would be insane.
That would be,
let's be honest, for expectations,
crazy turnaround.
Yeah,
their expectations weren't much, so that would be nuts. Dak did throw 2 interceptions a week after he got paid millions and millions of dollars to play quarterback for the Cowboys, and he comes out the next week, and not saying it's all his fault, right? I think there's a lot going on. I think Mike McCarthy is a fraud a little bit, right?
You don't say.
I think he's a fraud. I think Jerry Jones is at this point way out of his league. I don't think he's the same Jerry Jones from the 80s and 90s.
He hasn't been. As long as he's the GM for them, they're not winning. Did
you see Robert Kraft go at him because he's in the Hall of Fame, but Robert Kraft isn't, which is actually insane.
Yeah, because Jerry Jones, like he was like the GM for some stuff. Fine,
he's just popular. He's just popular.
He won 2 Super Bowls, right? As the owner / GM or whatever.
Yeah,
Robert Kraft has won 6 as the owner, and been to 10 or one 10 AFC Championship games. Been to a bunch. Like he should be in there too. Like taking a no-name.
It shouldn't be close.
Taking a no-name franchise like the Patriots to basically one of the most prestigious organizations in the entire league. Like it's past due. They got to put him in.
Yeah, I don't really know how that worked and how he got in there first, but that's a crime, to be honest. And maybe it's just because Goodell's history with the Patriots. Maybe, I don't know, but Vikings are off to a good start. Shockingly, I wasn't expecting them to beat the 49ers at all.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone was.
Yeah, like they beat the Giants week 1. And it's kind of like, well, okay, that's what else is new. And then it's all of a sudden they're up against the 49ers, and it's like, wow, I'm kind of surprised. And I guess with that, we can talk about the lack of McCaffrey. That obviously puts a damper on him. I forget what is Marshawn Lynch calls him something, because someone asked Marshawn, if you had to compare yourself to somebody that's in the league now, who would it be? And I think the Snow Bunny or Snow Rabbit or something like that.
I knew it was going to be something whack like that. Oh, I love
just something ridiculous. And, but yeah, he clearly makes a big difference. And it's way too early take, but is it time to start panicking about Brock Purdy?
I'm going to say no. Not yet. I think that he is a quarterback that is propped up by the weapons around him for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's already seeming like the Niners have had several seasons like this where they just start dropping like flies and all their best players get hurt. So
yeah,
McCaffrey already on the IR. Pretty sure Debo might be out for a bit too. Mm-hmm. And it's only a matter of time before Kittle gets hurt, or
They
Trent Williams gets it just
are dangerously close to being in that Rams territory of they have just all older guys that are all expensive.
Yeah.
And I think I do think I guess we'll call them years are numbered. I don't think they have a whole lot of time if they're going to win a Super Bowl, it's got to be within the next 2 years. Because
before you start paying Purdy too, because I'm pretty sure they're not paying him.
Yeah. You're going to have to pay Purdy. I mean, you barely got oh man, what's his name back? Brandon Ayuk back. Debo Samuel's in and out all the time. McCaffrey's in and out all the time. And they're all like on the older side. I got to imagine it's got to be within the next 2 years. It's either got to be, which it doesn't even look like it's going to be this year. Maybe when they get McCaffrey back, but watching them, it doesn't have the same vibe as it did the last 2 years.
No, they're not. They're not. Well, at least over the first 2 weeks, they're not like the super dominant team that they have been.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I if they can get a little healthier, I mean, I don't expect them to be, too far away from their normal form. But this just happens so frequently with them, where they just have years where it's just tanked from just massive injuries that really affect them. And I kind of felt like they last year might have been their best chance because they were pretty healthy going into the Super Bowl, and they weren't able to capitalize on it. Right?
No.
They've had this happen so frequently, going all the way back to even like the Kaepernick days, and like even after that, like they had so many years where they just had pretty good roster, then quarterback goes down or this person goes down, and then it's just a domino effect.
Right.
And it's still a testament to Kyle Shanahan I think he has a really good coach. And despite them having guys in and out, he still is able to really have an effective offense and team overall. But we'll see if they're able to get a little bit healthier and kind of get back to their normal form. And again, the
NFL is a long season. The NFL is a long season.
I think we talked about this maybe last week, where the preseason is so short and guys don't play. So this first month of the season is really like an extended preseason for a lot of players, right? And I think especially offenses too, because we've seen like a lot of scoring be down overall. Like I think I saw a stat where the amount of passing touchdowns over the first 2 weeks of the season is like drastically decreased. Like I think maybe we'll say.
I wonder.
Go ahead.
I wonder if the preseason has a lot to do with that, because a lot less reps, a lot less playing with each other, getting ready to go into that season. I wonder how much that plays a factor.
Yeah. I think it 100% plays a factor, because you don't get those same reps with the guys that you're going to be working with. And just to finish that stat that I was saying, with over the first 2 weeks of the season, we'll say, like, I think it might have been like 3 or 4 years ago, over the first 2 weeks, there was, I think, 105 touchdown passes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This year, there's 60 something. It's a huge drop. Drop. And it has gradually gone down over the past few years. Now, I want to say it's over the same time frame as when they switched to the 17-game schedule. So I feel like that has something to do with it. Another thing that I've heard on like various NFL shows or podcasts is like defenses are just adapting to the way that the passing game is now. So I'm a I wouldn't even say amateur. It's even though I'm amateur at this podcasting thing, but I'd say I'm even more of a novice in understanding like football concepts. But I think you're seeing a lot more of like the 2 high safety defenses, which kind of limits like the amount of like passing that you can do, because you have more guys drop back, preventing like too much of a deep ball like that.
I think defenses are figuring out the new school kind of offense between a lot of passing, a lot of RPO and stuff like that, which is run pass option. I think they figured it out, but I also think football is such a specialized sport nowadays. And like when I say that, I mean it used to be where one player played both sides, like a Travis Hunter deal. Like you played offense, you played defense, right? Now it's so down to like the minute details. You have a guy for cover, 4. You have a guy for nickel. You have a guy for dime. You have a special player that's especially good at man coverage. Like let's take a middle linebacker for example. Let's say you have like 3 or 4. You have one that's good at stopping the run, one that's good defending man coverage, one that's good defending zone coverage, and you're going to use all 3 of those guys. It's gone less to like one guy does everything, and more guys have very specific rules.
I think that goes along to offenses as well, not just the defense. So
Yeah,
you have guys that are more the like quote unquote gadget guys where you do like the jet sweeps, screen passes, like you saw Xavier Worthy in his first game for the Chiefs. He had a few of those like gadget type plays with like the end around stuff like that. And then like you have like running backs who they're more for like the short yardage situations. Like you see, I think they keep using that Carson Steele. Guy for the Chiefs.
You got
like the short yardage. He's gonna hold on to the ball. And,
right, you have your regular back, you have a power back for short situations, then you have your third down back, you have your receiving back.
Right.
It's just
and
so
then like
specialized.
Receivers, slot receivers, both sides of the ball are so specialized, and I think they're just like kind of catching up with each other.
Yeah, and I think it just took coordinators and coaches to kind of figure out, okay, how can we defend this best? And they finally, I feels like, cracked the code a little bit on how to defend it. What I think will help, and I think what we're going to end up doing a little bit is eventually, I think we're going to be rewinding time a little bit, and I think the run game is going to pick up more because offense is going to be like, oh, we can't just RPO and throw it 40, 50 times a game anymore. They're going to go back to, okay, well, let's hand the ball off. And I think it's going to be a never-ending cycle of just what's the best thing to do, because there's always that one coach that comes in and has some kind of like crazy offense or crazy defense that changes the game, and then everybody starts doing it, and then who's going to be the next guy to come up with something?
Yeah, and I think you have that part of it, but also like the player body types too, right?
Yeah.
So the defenses have evolved to have more skinnier, faster guys on the field. Like they have more D-backs on the field. Yeah. The linebackers
more
are more athletic, where they can rush the passer, but they can also easily drop back in coverage like a Fred Warner, right?
Yeah.
So with that, if there's not as many like guys in the box, or these guys are smaller, let's get a big bruising back like a Derrick Henry or like a Rondre Stevenson who can bowl guys over and get you an easy 7 yards. Like they're gonna go with the path of least resistance, and if there's more resistance to getting yardage through the air with how many D-backs are around and like what the coverages are, then let's just go with the run game and kind of just bowl our way down to the red zone and the end zone.
I agree. I think I do think it's going to all circle back to the run game, and honestly, I'm here for it. I'm glad to see.
Well, we know you are your triple option arm.
Yeah, I
front of the ball. That's all you do.
Football got too pretty. It got too, oh man, my team won, but we only passed the ball 15 times. Like, okay, but you won the game. Tom Brady threw for 500 yards one time and still lost.
I don't want to talk about it. I know exactly what game you're talking about. You're talking about Super Bowl 52 against the Eagles. We're not talking about that. I'll bring up another Patriots win to kind of back up your point. The one, RIP Mac Jones' Patriots career, but he threw 3 times against the Bills and won in a freaking like wind tunnel up in Buffalo.
Yeah,
and they ended up still winning the game.
I'm telling you, there's power in running the ball, man. I'm telling you, it's such a game changer, and I hope teams start realizing that we got to get back to that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that we might be kind of reverting back to like with the running back stuff. We talk about how everything's like so specialized, right? You have your third down back, you have your receiving back, blah blah blah, right? And obviously it depends on like the schemes the offenses have too. But I think we're getting more to the like the quote unquote like bell cow back, where they're taking a majority of the snaps, at least in the Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson is the main guy. They have Antonio Gibson backing him up, but Ramondre is there for passing downs. He's there for running downs. So I mean, it's not really happened as much with Derrick Henry. He's not really getting a ton of touches in Baltimore. But like a Nick Chubb, these other guys that have multiple purposes, and they're not just in there for one purpose. I think that is becoming more prominent. I still am of the opinion that I'm not going to draft a running back in the first round because I can get one that can produce probably just as much either undrafted or later in the draft. So that still has to.
We're not quite there yet. We're not quite at that point where running backs are going to be top 15 picks, top first round picks quite yet. We might see it circle back to that point, depending how crazy it gets.
Yeah.
But and like you said, there's a massive drop off in passing.
Yeah, we have had them sporadically too. Like you have the Bijan Robinson, Saquon, guys like that are playing more downs. But they were a little bit more far and few between. I think it might be kind of reverting back and kind of coming back around a little bit.
Yeah. Raiders beat the Ravens. Another game I was pretty skeptic on. Baltimore, man. I don't know what they need. I really have more weapons for Lamar. I mean, I feel like we say that every year.
Yeah.
Right?
That was a tough watch because the Ravens fumbled that lead. And I mean, I feel like Lamar has some good options, right? Derrick Henry now. He's got Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
Right? Is that his name? Yeah.
Good, yes. Yep.
Yeah, both of them. Very nice. And I don't know. It's not working out.
Yeah, the Ravens seem like one of those teams where a guy's wide open in the end zone, Lamar misses him. A guy is wide open, the very next play, Lamar nails the throw, but the guy drops the ball. They cannot get put together a full team game. And I thought Derrick Henry might take a lot of pressure off of Lamar, but I don't know the exact stat, or I don't know how many carries he has this year, but it's not many.
He's not getting a ton, yeah. And it's like they just lack the attention to detail, I guess. Well, I couldn't even say that because they're a good coach, well-coached team. But it's just they're just missing that little bit of clutchness with converting, like you said, the pass in the end zone that just tips off the guy's hand or just barely get the foot in. It's they're right there, but they're not quite there. I think they might have, at least in this game against the Raiders, they fell victim to the Minshew. Get it? Because shout out to Chris Berman. What a great joke that guy had with that.
Yeah, I don't have too many more thoughts on the Ravens other than I just don't know what they need to get over the hump.
I think the answers are in house. We see this sometimes where you have two. Well, I guess you should beat the Raiders, but you start off the season with a really tough game against the defending champs, and you kind of stumble out of the gate. I think that they still have a chance to possibly win the division, and even go beyond that. I just think they kind of got to get their stuff together.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of getting stuff together, this is gonna be my favorite part. Is the Giants lose a game scoring 3 touchdowns and not allowing 1 touchdown?
Not great.
I gotta say, if I went back in time to my 15-year-old self and said, hey, the Giants are going to lose a game. They're going to score 3 touchdowns. The other team is not going to score a single one, but the Giants are still going to lose. I'd poop my pants, I think. Because
how old are you at this point? You're still pooping your pants? Would you say you were 15?
15? I mean,
I'm kind of concerned for your 15-year-old self. You still pooping your pants at that age, man? Jeez.
If you went back in time and told me that, yeah, probably.
Gonna have to get you to a GI doctor at that point. I know it's surprising, but jeez.
I just don't know. That has to be the worst statistic in NFL history. That has to be.
I mean, there's
I can't think of a single one.
Losing the Super Bowl after being down 20 or being up 28-3.
That's
not
tough.
fam. You're playing. You're playing a game. Nah, I don't know. You're playing an elite team that is there for a reason.
The Commanders with
you're playing the Commanders who kicked 7 field goals and beat you.
I think
you want to know why? Because Graham Gano got hurt on the opening kickoff, and they went for 2 every single time.
That's what I was gonna say. Okay, so he got hurt during the game. That's what you said.
Got hurt in the opening kickoff.
Okay. So I didn't know that. I thought it was like prior to, but like
he was banged up beforehand.
See, that's my point. If he's banged up beforehand, you know that, you could have signed a guy off the street and just
this is funny
for the game.
This is funny because I saw this movie last year when me and Erica went to the Giants-Jets game, and he missed like 2 or 3 kicks, and we're like, what the heck is going on? And then sure enough, he's limping on the sideline. And it's just like, how as a coach are you not prepared if your one kicker is limping around all week and you don't say, let's pick somebody up maybe. Yeah. Why are you so connected to a kicker? I get it. A kicker can win you so many games, but you need a kicker in order to kick the ball. Yeah. The Giants are in such shambles, and it's very mixed. It's very a little bit too early yet. And for me, like last year, I was at the point I was like, a little bit too early. I'm over it. I'm so over it. How many years do they need? I think if there was a little bit improvement, I'd be like, all right, this is fine. I knew it wasn't going to take, a year to flip up, the organization around. But to get worse as a professional team is a mystery to me. How do they're literally inventing new ways to lose. And I know that's like a funny joke, but they literally are.
They are.
I can't argue with you on that one.
No.
The Giants, I think, are so far away from being back as a playoff team. I don't know what they got to do. Well, one, like you said earlier, Sunday I was cheering for Daniel Jones to throw interceptions all game long because I'm sick of this song and dance of he plays horrible and then he plays okay against Washington because he does have a history against Washington playing well for, obvious reasons. And then he's back to playing bad again, and it's a song and dance, and people are like, oh, it's only game 2. And I'm like, it's year 6.
Yeah. You should be you are who you are at year 6.
Yeah. Pretty much. And he's got neighbors now who's he's already proving he's not really a slouch. Yeah, he had that one drop, but okay. I don't really know where they're going to go from here. I don't know if Dayball makes it. It seems like they're running out of scapegoats, to be honest. And I got to say, I don't see any upside right now. People are like, oh, well, they play better week 2 than week 1. And I'm like, yeah, because you played a team that just beat the 49ers, and now you're playing a team that is the only contender to being worse than you.
In your own division, yeah.
Yeah, so Nick, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the Giants because I know you're a Giants fan when you watch, but
yeah, I watch because of my mom, so shout out to her, I guess. But but my comment, at least we're not the Panthers.
Yeah,
I might regret that.
Be worse. Could be. Yeah, I mean, kind of bad.
I can't lie. I think the Giants are worse.
No, well, stop it. No.
I think the Giants are worse.
No. Let's back up. The Panthers gave up so much for Bryce Young, and he got benched after week 2. He just got drafted first overall last year.
What's our quarterback situation?
Your quarterback situation is you're on your 6-year guy that you can easily get out of his contract. But with this guy, with Bryce Young, they got him under contract for a few more years. and you literally just drafted him. On top of it,
here's the thing, though. That's the upside, though, is because he's young with a bad team.
Still, but they don't have the resources to build from there because they traded him all away for the first pick. They gave this year's first pick to the Bears for Caleb Williams and a bunch of other picks too, right? So if Caleb Williams works out, that's another quarterback you could have had, and they're probably going to have the first pick this year too. And then I want to say they still have to give picks to the Bears too. So both situations are bad, but at least the Giants have at least some stuff for the future. The Panthers that's a bleak outlook with them.
I disagree. I don't know what upside that the Giants have. I genuinely don't. They went and spent a bunch of money on Burns. He's done nothing. The number 1 overall pick, Thibodeau, it's either all or nothing with him. They have the offensive line is probably the best it's been in years. And guess what? They still don't have a quarterback to stand behind there and be able to deliver a ball. But we're going to find out because I'm not sure which week it is, and I'm trying to find it.
They play the Panthers.
They play the Panthers in Germany, and I promise you, I don't think the Panthers are either they're same level as Giants, or the Giants are worse. I get what you're saying. What we're
sending there?
What?
I said for Germany. That's what we're sending there. That we're really giving them our worst possible product to showcase the NFL. Jeez, what they do to us?
I'm not. We're not gonna go there.
We're not going there.
No, we're not gonna go there. Let's just say they did it twice. Okay. So let's look at this, right? Daniel Jones is 38 of 70 on the year with 364 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Granted, remember they just played the Commanders. Bryce Young is 31 of 56 with 245 yards and 3 interceptions with a much less team.
Again, both situations aren't great at all, but I don't know. Like, I still just think Bryce Young is just at this point just a sunk asset. Jones, you can get out of his contract, and then you're set up with a higher pick next year. Like there's at least a somewhat of a path moving forward. And again, it's only week 2 for both these teams. Yes, they look like absolute like trash to start. Will it get too much better? Who knows? But still early in the season, you can maybe Burns turns it on, like you said, and Thibodeau. I know he's been kind of on and off throughout his whole career. And then you got Neighbors too, who seems to be talented. They just have to have a quarterback that can get him the ball.
It's like where are we seeing this?
There's still time to see what the future is. It may look like too. We're acting like it's the end of the season too.
It's almost it is for the Giants. It is over.
They're not mathematically eliminated yet.
Make no mistake, it is over, which is crazy because they're only 1 game out of the division, which is another story for another time. But where have we seen the story of, the Giants draft a really good, talented wide receiver, right? He plays, it doesn't go well, he moves, and then that's the end of that. Where have we seen that? Oh, that's right. Odell Beckham, and then the other one, Kenny Golladay. So we've already seen this story twice.
Damn, remember him? He fleeced the Giants.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. Oh my God. Did he retire?
I don't know.
I think he did.
It was probably forced retirement, if not.
And then Darren Waller did the same thing. He was like, "Yeah, 1 year out. Okay, see you later."
Dude, everyone's waiting for him to show up to camp, and he makes a rap track, and it's like, are you coming to camp or not? Priorities, I guess. But anyways, I digress from the Giants. A few topics left. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. Another team that seemed like they were about to get over that hill, and now they're just rolling back down the hill again. Trevor Lawrence right now has a 55.7 QBR for the year.
Yeah, they don't really like. I mean, they have some weapons, nothing
crazy.
beating, and I still just don't know how Bill Belichick lost the goddamn Super Bowl to Doug Peterson. He's not a good coach. I don't get it. He makes the stupidest calls, the stupidest go for it on fourth downs. I think that Trevor Lawrence has all the talent in the world, but he's just been damned by poor coaching for the most part in his career.
I think that's a lot of quarterbacks in this league where they just go to awful situations, which is, and we'll have to talk about this one time on the podcast. I think the NFL should go to a lottery system like the NHL or the NBA. I don't like the worst team gets the first pick every year. It's no good for players, especially the top players coming out of college. And I have a lot of reasons, but we'll get into that another.
That'd be a good topic for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into that another time.
Stay tuned to later episodes for more on that topic.
Yeah. Chiefs get the best of the Bengals. They had Jamar Chase had that big penalty kind of in there where he just couldn't stop yapping at the ref, even despite Burrow trying to get him away. You gotta try to keep your cool in that situation. And I think he was arguing for something that wasn't even a penalty. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember what he was. Oh, hip drop. He wanted a hip drop tackle, but it wasn't a hip drop. So
we know he's a little hot right now, considering he didn't get his contract and he, sat out training camp. They're not playing the best, so that's kind of it comes with the territory for them.
Yeah,
him. They still put up a really good fight against the Chiefs. I don't.
They held Kelsey to one catch for 5 yards.
Yeah, he's another. That's another topic of discussion. I feel like
I will say though,
the best, but
if you watch tape, he is getting doubled. Pretty frequently.
Right. The other guys, they do something like Rashee Rice and Pacheco and stuff, but they're not like Pro Bowl level players.
No, it's not like Tyreek is out there anymore.
Right.
And we'll talk about the Saquon Barkley drop.
I'm sure you love that.
It's weird because it's like a love-hate thing, because honestly, I'm at such a disdain for the Giants right now. I kind of want Saquon to stick it to him, just to be
You're really down bad, man. Oh God.
Yeah, I'm honestly at that point with the Giants where I don't even feel bad for him anymore. I'm just kind of like, you're a professional team and you look like garbage juice. So that's just where I'm at right now. I guess the situation, I actually didn't watch. I don't know what I was doing. Honestly, I think I was just over it. I think Sunday took it out of me and that was that. But I guess Sirianni had a chance to run the ball. Didn't run the ball because there was a lot of guys in the box. And even though you can run, to the outside, you don't have to run into the middle of defense. But
novel concept.
There's definitely options other than running straight forward into the defense. But he chooses to throw the ball. Saquon drops a wide open pass and they kick a field goal and the Falcons go right down and score to win. Wow.
Big Kirko driving down the field. You like that? You like that?
Yeah, that's non-prime time Kirk.
Oh, yeah, true.
It was prime time.
Yeah, it was. I didn't think about that. Look at him.
That's not supposed to happen.
He's turning over a new leaf. He can put it up. Well, I let's not say he can put it up in prime time because he kind of was for the rest of the game. Came out when it mattered most. But yeah, the Eagles are another team where they're I don't want to say their window's closing, but they're kind of on the hot seat a little bit with.
I feel like Sirianni's on the hot seat.
Oh, 100%. But with how much talent they have and with how good they've been the past couple of years, and
Sirianni just inherited a very good roster, and then just rode the coattails of a fantastic roster so far. Did you see that their security guard or whatever his name is, Big Dom, he didn't let Jason Kelsey into the locker room after the game.
I think that was a bit.
Was it?
I think it was a bit.
Okay, I'm not. I didn't look into it or anything. I kind of just saw it on.
Kelsey was there for the Monday Night Football broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
I think they were just like playing it up or whatever.
I'd hope so, because that won't be. I don't know. That wouldn't be a good look.
They
If
had
you
the
ask
cameras
me.
there. Like I'm pretty sure it was like staged, like because Kelsey's a big goofball too. If you don't
So
mind, let me get in some Pats talk too, because you can talk about your shit team. Let me talk about mine for a little bit.
your team played good.
I know. I shouldn't even say that. Before the season, I thought they would be. Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with them the past 2 weeks. Definitely a winnable game with the Seahawks, but you can't give up over 300 passing yards to Geno Smith. Like, granted, yes, they have some pretty good weapons, but you just can't do it. And they did a good job stopping the run. Obviously, the Seahawks didn't have Kenneth Walker, but the strength of the Patriots probably is their secondary, and they just didn't come to play. Granted, some questionable pass interference calls. So they still hung around there, and I am honestly more confident in them than I thought I would be at this point with how they played. But
they've responded well to the new coach.
Oh yeah, I
They
definitely
really have.
It seems like they do like playing for Mayo a lot. But I just still, same as last year in the past couple of years, the offense is still limited. Pass protection was a little worse than against the Bengals. I think they might have given up 3 sacks, but Jacoby Brissett was just under fire a lot. And for a guy who isn't really the type to play off a schedule or even play that great on schedule, he can't have that. He can't have like guys in his face and everything. And there was a couple times in the preseason he was like kind of hard and like wincing a lot. Kind of saw this this past week too. So, I prefer for him to kind of stay in there as long as he can. Probably like not get injured, just because I feel like it's just better for Drake May and his development.
I agree. I don't think there's any need to rush right now.
There's not. They're not a team. I mean, I think they obviously do have a ceiling. I think I don't think they'll have like a winning record, and I think that is probably better for Drake May just because the roster around him isn't quite there yet. I think I am a little bit, I don't want to say confident, optimistic about the weapons they got, like Jalen Pope and Javon Baker, Pop Douglas. He's still playing good. Like there was a few plays that he was wide open, but just the pass protection didn't hold off it. And then that's all the more reason to not play Drake May, just so he doesn't get hurt with the pass protection they have.
He might be the rookie that is in the best position right now. At least quarterback wise.
What about Caleb Williams? So I mean, he did get killed on Sunday night, but like he's got, besides the offensive line issues, he's got decent weapons around him, and the defense is good. Like people kind of
but you know what? He got thrown into the fire though, man. People don't understand what that does for people's confidence.
Yeah,
what that does for like just taking hits.
Yeah.
Like
a couple times.
So it's not a good situation for him right now. Drake May is in literally a paradise, in my opinion, right now. Of you have this organization that is kind of turning. Well, they did turn kind of a new chapter. They got a new coach in there. Everybody obviously is bought into him. Seems like already.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of upside to that team already. And he comes from a Bill Belichick coaching tree, so that says something. And he's not being thrown into the fire. And I think as long as the Patriots can stay patient, like let's say the season starts going south a little bit too much, I'd urge them to not do it. Don't put him in there.
I think like playing him at some point is important. The classic example is like Pat Mahomes and Alex Smith, where Pat Mahomes didn't play at all his first year. Actually, excuse me, he did. He played in the last week of the season, but he arguably went into the best situation because they were already a playoff team without him. Regardless, I think that holding him out, with playing him later in the season, like when Jacoby Brissett inevitably his play starts to lack, and it's already kind of lacking as it is. Like, in overtime, after they didn't get, they might have just went 3 and out, or maybe they got one first down. I didn't really expect him to drive all the way down the field. He is what he is, right? He's passing for like less than 150 yards a game right now, or something like that. But as long as they can kind of ride him out, I think it will just help Drake May. Amongst the Patriots fans that I follow on Twitter, see on various social medias, they say, I think with one of their games against the Dolphins, they said, "Oh yeah, that's a good spot to put him in. Like, it'll be after like some of the tougher teams like the Jets and the Niners that they play." Which, okay, maybe fine, but push it off as long as you can, because let him kind of understand the offense more. Let the offensive line kind of mesh a little bit better, get better, so they don't kill him.
Right.
And then some of the weapons, let them get more reps. Like Jalen Polk, I think he's like leading the league or something in separation rate or whatever. There's so many freaking stats in the NFL that just make no sense to me, or how they calculate it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but he's up there. He did catch a touchdown last week. But I think as the team kind of develops, let him kind of just sit back, let them kind of become more of a unit, more of a team, and then stick him in there.
If you can get that O-line to start gelling, that's going to be the ideal situation to then put him in. Because if the offensive line is connected and going, you're going to be good.
That'll be huge.
Yeah. Anyways, before we wrap up here, quick, we'll do our picks for this week. We'll go. I'll give my pick, then Justin, and then Nick give your pick.
Sure.
We got Patriots, Jets. I am actually, for this first matchup, I am going to take the Jets only because it's home.
I'm going to go with the same. I do think it's going to be a closer game than people would expect, especially, these Thursday games, they get kind of wonky. And considering the Jets barely beat Will Levis in his terrible perfect play and the Titans. I'll still lean Jets to win, but I think the Pats will give them a good fight.
Okay. Nick?
Yeah, I'll go with the Jets too. I think it's a good pick.
All right, next one isn't too hard. Giants, Browns. Obviously, I'm going Browns.
Yep.
All right.
Agreed. Moving on. Easiest pick of the day.
Packers, Titans. I'm going to go with the Packers.
Malik Willis revenge game, even though he barely threw anything last week. All right, I'll do Packers, and we'll see what ridiculously stupid play Will Levis does next week too, and has his coach ask him what the hell he's doing.
Yeah. Next one is interesting. Bears, Colts. Personally, the Colts got to get one here. They're already 0-2. The Colts need it, and that's why I'm going to pick the Colts.
It is for the Colts too. I think I'm going to go Bears. I think the Colts, they lost to Forrest Buckner too. It doesn't seem like he's going to be back, to my knowledge. And Richardson, he threw 3 picks. That's not.
Yeah, for the year he's got 3 touchdowns, 4 picks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bears for that one.
Okay, Nick.
I'm going to roll with the Colts. I feel like they have something to prove right now. They feel like it's now or never. They can't go 0-3.
Agreed. Texans, Vikings. This one has potential of being probably game of the week.
Texans. I mean, Vikings are playing better than we expected them to with Sam Darnold there. But still, I think the Texans are going to start getting it going. They didn't really put up too much offensively in the first 2 weeks, but I think that they're really going to round into form here.
I agree. I think the Texans are a little bit more well-rounded, and I think this is where the magic for the Vikings is going to fade a little bit. Nick, do you agree?
Might be out, or he was hurt at the end of last week, so we'll see what his status is.
I'm going to agree with you guys, but I'm also going to say I think it'll be a very close game. Actually, I don't think it'll be.
I agree.
Yeah, it'll be contested.
Another could be an interesting one. Eagles, Saints.
Is Derek Carr gonna keep being the next coming of Tom Brady for whatever reason? Okay, I actually am gonna go Saints here, just because like I feel like that Eagles loss means a lot, and I like Sirianni already lost the locker room, like, and they're going to New Orleans too, which is already a tough place to play. I'll go Saints.
I'm reluctant on this one, but I'm gonna go Saints as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Saints, definitely.
Chargers, Steelers. Man. This one's a tricky one to me because Steelers have no offense, but their defense is always good as usual. I'm going to go Chargers in a very close game, but I could see this one going either way.
I could too. Fields isn't losing them the game, but it's like, how long could he keep doing that?
And how long before Russell Wilson comes back?
Which is another weird situation, but
yeah.
I'm going to go Steelers. I don't know if the Chargers have enough firepower to kind of overcome how stout the Steelers defense is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go Steelers. I feel like if there's any team that just magically gets wins when people don't expect it, it's the Steelers. And then they get like very good records, make the playoffs, and people are like, well, they're like frauds. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
I think it's Tomlin's still got the streak of having or not having a losing record for like his whole tenure as
Steelers he does.
It's been since like what, 2007.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Nuts.
Broncos at Buccaneers. I got Buccaneers, and honestly, I got Baker Mayfield for MVP right now.
I mean, he's probably played the best out of anyone.
Yeah.
He's really played well. I'm going to go with Bucks too. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Bo Nix is extremely limited.
Yeah.
I think I heard a stat where throws over 5 yards, he has like a 30-something completion percentage.
Ouch.
Not just
over
not
5
good.
yards, dude. That's
he had like his completion percentage in college was insane, but probably all within the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Nick, what you got?
What were the teams again? Sorry.
No, you're good. Broncos at Buccaneers.
Broncos, yeah. I'm going to go Broncos.
All right.
Sean Payton.
Yeah, I think they might actually get one. Upset.
Panthers at Raiders. This one's pretty easy. I'm going Raiders.
Moving on.
Dolphins, Seahawks. I'm going Seahawks. No Tua. That's another situation that's I think Tua needs to be done.
He is on IR, but he will be back. So I
for
agree.
4 weeks. So, but Tua needs to be done.
Yeah.
But I think we're all in agreement. Seahawks are the pick. Nick, what do you think?
Seahawks.
Ravens, Cowboys. Arguably, this is going to be a high tension game because I think both of these teams really need a win here.
I think the Ravens need it more, and I think that they're more capable. I'm going to go Ravens.
Yep, Ravens.
And to show you how close they're thinking this thing is, it's Baltimore by 1 point right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Cowboys.
Okay.
I think the Ravens' slow start is going to continue until it says right here that Lamar Jackson isn't their leading rusher.
Yeah, they really got to change that. They got to have, because you have freaking Derrick Henry back there, and
there's no excuse.
It's not like he's completely washed up. Like he was really good last year too. They got to give him the ball more. It's unacceptable.
Next game is 49ers at Rams. I'm going 49ers in a blowout, especially after the Rams just got annihilated by the Cardinals.
Yeah, and then they lost Cooper Kupp again.
Yeah.
I think he might be going on IR. Puka's already out. They don't really have much else. So that's, Niners.
Lions and Cardinals. I'm going to go Lions.
This one's actually tough.
Yeah, another tough one.
I'll go Lions too. I will say I am surprised with how well Kyler's played so far, but again, it's before Call of Duty comes out. You know, once Call of Duty hits his PlayStation or Xbox, he starts slipping with his play. I hope that this is a high scoring game. Like the Lions can kind of get it going on offense because they've kind of left some.
Jared Goff's got to turn it around though. We talked about Jared Goff last week, and I knew his time is. His clock is also ticking, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's got to do a little something here.
Yeah, Nick? I'm going to go Cardinals though.
Okay. All right. Chiefs Falcons.
I hate to say it.
Go ahead.
It's got to be the Chiefs.
I'm gonna. God, this is tough. I'm gonna go Falcons. The Chiefs is kind of.
I actually agree.
Okay,
I'm also picking the Falcons.
Yeah, they won that by just by a hair in both games, like with Isaiah Likely's foot barely being out of bounds, and then the defensive pass.
I think I'm only saying that because I just think the Chiefs are due for a loss here. It's nothing about the Falcons being a better team. It's just I think the Chiefs are due for a loss here.
If you look at
they slipped away twice.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes is also like not playing up to his standard yet.
No, he's got 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah, and it might just be like weapons thing too. Like I know they lost Pacheco.
I mean, Rice, he's got 12 catches for 178 yards and a touchdown, so he's by no means playing bad.
Yeah, he's the main guy though. Like Worthy didn't really play good last week. Kelsey is nowhere to be seen.
And the line is only Kansas City by 3.5.
Yeah, I think that Falcons win over the Eagles. It kind of gives them a little bit of a boost. I'll go Falcons.
All right, and Nick already said Chiefs. And then the last 2 games will be 2 Monday night games.
I don't know why they do that. They used to do it like just the first Monday, but now it's like
it's
points of the season. I don't know.
This first one was pretty easy. Jaguars, Bills. I think it's Bills.
Bills. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then this one I think is also pretty easy. Commanders, Bengals.
Must win for the Bengals.
Must win for the Bengals. They're going to be pretty irritated about last week, so I'm thinking Bengals big too.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
And that will wrap up episode 3.
Hell yeah, boy! A little bit longer. We got some good discussion today.
I was say there's a lot of good discussions here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was a good one.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I hope everybody has a good sports week. I will probably not. Well, Army's playing, so
wait,
there's a chance.
Who do they play Rice this week?
Yeah, they play Rice.
I saw that they're on the Owl Hunt or whatever. They played
Florida Atlantic.
Yep. Then they play Rice, and then they play.
Then they're playing Rice and Temple. Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah. So may the weekend be at least 50-50 prosperous.
Same to you, my friend.
All right. See you
later.
Peace.